Yes, boys, today's video, what is the best training split for you to actually gain as much muscle as possible? Now, the reason you've clicked on this video is pretty simple, I imagine. You are confused with the amount of misinformation out there with all the different training splits, everyone's saying one thing and other people saying another. And your goal is simply to find the training split that builds the most amount of muscle as possible. So that's kind of my goal of this video, is to pretty much have a discussion and show you the rationale behind each individual split and what would probably work best for you and the reasoning behind it. So I'm not going to say there's just one approach. I'm going to basically explain things in a logical manner, and that should allow you to cut the bullshit and actually understand the training side. Now, you've obviously come to this video to gain as much muscle as possible, so you just got to understand, if you pay attention to this, you're going to understand the training split side, but there is a lot more to it. So if you are someone who perhaps is a little bit confused with all the misinformation and genuinely wants to take their physique to the next level, feel free to click the link in the description below. There's a link that you can watch a video of pretty much how I did everything along my journey, and a link to booking a call with me if you'd like to learn a little bit more or work with me to help you build your physique and really take things to the next level. So that's kind of a little bit about what we're going to talk about in this video, but I'll just get stuck in, right? Everyone wants to know what's going on with the training splits. So what is the best training split? It's not going to be what you think, lads. First off, I will make myself a bit larger, sorry. Here we go. Now, let's talk about the rationale behind this. So the split that you do is highly contingent on where you are at within your lifting journey. There is no one size fits all. If you've just started the gym, do not do the split that Ronnie Coleman or Arnold does, because they're massive. That split did not get them to where they are now. It just might be what they're doing now. And you have to think strategically and actually understand, why do we have a training split in the first place? What does a training split actually do? What purpose does it serve? And then you can actually reverse engineer it and think, okay, why am I doing these things? And I'll explain this really, really simply. So the split that will work best for you is the one that allows you to continually progress your lifts and get stronger. Why? Because that's how you grow muscle. And that's why you clicked on this video. You want to gain muscle. You want the most efficient split. So realistically, we need to find a split that is simply going to make you stronger, is going to allow you to recover and progress your lifts as fast as possible. So we have to think of it this way and be strategical and always be second guessing our split and asking ourselves, is this the most efficient split to actually help us get stronger and recover effectively? If for whatever reason it isn't, then perhaps we need to change things around and actually understand ourselves, our physiques at the time, and basically base it on them. That's what I would say. Now, this is a little bit of a caveat here, but just hear me out. Do not base your split on what you want to do for fun, but instead what you need. So a lot of the kind of lessons I'm teaching you here are based on a bodybuilder, Jordan Peters, who is honestly one of the best. If you don't know about him, watch all of his stuff. I've learned so much of the information that I use with my own physique, with my clients, that I provide you guys from him. And a lot of this video is based on just kind of studying him and learning from pretty much everything he says. And one thing that really, really was interesting that he said was, do not base your split on fun, right? There is a degree of enjoyment that you essentially need when you first come into the gym, right? Like, obviously, if you're new to the gym, we don't want to put you on some stupid split because you'll lose enjoyment and then you won't be motivated and then you won't be consistent. You know, there is an argument that the split you should be doing is the one that allows you to stay most consistent. But I feel like most of you aren't in that situation. You're already in the gym. You already find it fun. You just want to grow more muscle. So at the end of the day, the fun part is now irrelevant. Like, we have fun in the gym. The only real fun is going to come from getting big. So we need to change the dynamic and the mindset from, okay, we're training what we want because this is fun. We're training chest and arms because it's a fun day, to actually what we need. Because if we basically find pleasure in actually reaching the goal, which is where you need a bit of a level of maturity, you know, at the start I didn't think like this, but now I do, that's fun. Getting to where you want, hitting your physique goals, that's fun. And maybe it requires a different approach, but so be it. And that's the whole point of delayed gratification. And that's what we need to be thinking about here, okay? So I will go into detail about this so that makes a bit more sense. But let's compare the splits that I'm going to talk about. So you've got full body, you've got upper lower, so splitting obviously your upper body and your lower body. You've got push pull legs, and you've got the bro split, which I would not recommend. Everyone does the bro split. I've done all of these splits, so that's why I'm qualified to speak about all of these, because I can give you my 2 cents and my thinking, my understanding of each one, and kind of why I would do each one at a certain time in my lifting journey, if you will. But I would not do the bro split, and I'm just going to say that right now. And I'll explain why towards the end of the video. I'm going into detail, but we'll get stuck in, right? So first off, we're going to talk about full body. Now, you ain't going to like this, but whether you like it or not, this is honestly the best split for beginners coming into the gym. And the reason why is pretty simple. And by the way, when I say beginners, I mean, I'm 6 years into the gym, right? I still just classify myself in the beginner and intermediate stage. Why? Because I spent 4 or 5 years just fucking around, not knowing what I was doing a bro split, doing the push-pull legs 6 days per week, and I was fucking around. So realistically, I'm still climbing the ladder. I'm going to explain what I mean by this ladder. And the first rung of the ladder, right, is full body. So whether you like it or not, this is going to be the best split for you. Now, why? Why is it the best split? So if you're new to the gym and you're trying to build as much muscle as possible, it is in your interest to train everything as much as physically possible. Now, the only split that is going to allow you to do that is full body. Why? There's no other split that allows you to train every single muscle group 4 times per week. So that's why full body is always going to be beneficial. And if we break that down, there's reasons behind it. So number one, right? If you're training 4 times per week and you're training the same muscle groups, you're going to get better at the exercises faster, which results in faster skill development. You will get better at the form. You will understand exactly how to control the movements, and therefore you will just practice quicker. You will get more reps in than the person who does it once per week, and you will understand how to incline bench, squat, deadlift, leg press at a far higher level of accuracy and execution than the person who does it once per week. Why? Because you're getting more reps. Now, why is that important? Because if you are better at completing a movement and you know how to do it with complete accuracy, then this 100% correlates to how much muscle you end up building. So it's very, very important, especially when you're new, to get good at the skills, to get good at the actual exercises. And obviously doing them more is the fast way to do it. Practice makes perfect, right? Secondly, you provide your body with more stimulus whilst weights are lower. So think about it this way, right? If you're 10 years into a fitness journey, into lifting, and now you need a lot of weight, you need to be squatting like 170 kg to really, really take the quads or take the legs to failure. And you're doing these sort of weights. So when you're pushing, when you're pulling, you're doing all these crazy weights, and you're doing that 4 times per week. That's going to be crazy. That's going to destroy the central nervous system, and it's physically not going to be possible. However, when you're just starting out, you do not need as much of a weight to provide a stimulus to your body. Why? Because your body isn't used to it. You haven't been lifting weights before. Therefore, you can provide your body with more stimulus whilst weights are lower, and in turn recovery is faster. Now, there is a small caveat. Of course, your body is not going to be used to it at first. You are going to be sore for longer. However, just realize that soreness is not indicative of actual recovery. Sometimes you can be sore and still potentially recovered in certain circumstances, if that makes sense. You have to play things by ear, but you just got to realize at the end of the day, if the weights you're lifting aren't that heavy, your body's going to recover faster. Simple as that. And therefore you can train more. Recovery becomes crucially important when you get into the latter stages of lifting, because that's when you really, really need to focus on the small minor details to make sure that you're gaining muscle. When you're first starting out, you just want to train everything as much as possible and just fucking hope for the best. And that's pretty much the best way to do things, if that makes sense. And finally, it's the fastest way to get stronger across the board and build solid foundations as a beginner lifter. Like if you're squatting 4 times per week, your squat is going to go crazy. Your legs are going to be insane. If you're squatting once per week because you followed Chris Bumstead's bro split or Arnold's bro split that you saw in a magazine, like you're not going to get as strong as quick. Yeah, like you will get strong over time, but not as quick. Why? Because you're not doing it as much. Simple as that. So understand the more you do, the more you get out, especially in the starting stages. And it's always going to be in your interest to train full body as the first split. Now, I'll explain kind of how and why I would recommend full body. Bear in mind, I've done full body. It ain't fun. I don't like it. In fact, I don't even, if I'm being completely honest with you, I do not say it for my clients. The reason why is because my churn rate would be through the fucking roof if I set full body, because it's not fun, right? It's not what you should, like, it's not what you want to be doing, but it's what you need to be doing, if I'm being honest. Like, at the end of the day, I owe you you know, the truth. You came on to learn pretty much what split grows you the most muscle, and the truth is it's going to be full body, right? Doesn't mean it's fun, and it will get really hard. Like it 100% will. I think I lasted like 3 months when I was doing full body back in the day. It was ages ago, and it was fucking hard. Like at the end of the day, you're just fatigued a lot. It's quite taxing on the nervous system, so you just kind of have to embrace that. Like the limiting factor is it's not going to be enjoyable, but this is why it's really, really important to sit with yourself. And this is something people don't really talk about when it comes to kind of bodybuilding and building your physique. It's like reverse engineer the goals. Like, what do you want? So, are you in the gym because you know you just want to get some more goals? You want to look better? You want to just have your top off and look shredded, or do you actually want to be insane? Like, do you want to build a physique that's just fucking crazy that people just go like, what the fuck? How is that even possible? And that's when that's when everything changes. Because if that's not the case, then you're probably not going to do this. But like if it's in your interest and you want to build as much muscle as possible, and it's so important to you, and you really want to reach your full potential, then it doesn't matter what you find fun. Fuck that. Like fuck how you feel. Just do it. Like, do you know what I mean? So you came to this video to know the best split to build muscle, and this is it. However, mine is fun. And you know, again, Jordan, he always talks about this. He goes, you know, you're going to have friends who are doing arm days, chest days. There's always, you know, the grass is going to be greener on the other side. You're going to see people doing these splits, and you're going to be stuck doing, you know, your fourth leg day of the week, but your legs are fucking knackered and all this. At the end of the day, it's going to suck. But like, it's about delayed gratification. If you understand why you're doing it, you're going to build better foundations, and you're basically going to be able to progress in the most efficient manner possible. The return on investment's massive, and I'll just give you a prime example. Let's just say we have Dave and we've got Steve, right? Dave and Steve are completely new to the gym. Now, Steve reads the magazines, and Steve basically just starts on a bro split. Dave is smart. Dave watches Gabriel's videos, and he basically just went on a full body split, structured it exactly like I'm going to show you, and basically did 4 times per week. Now, let's just look what happens from a mathematical perspective over a month. Dave has trained his legs 4 times per week. Therefore, in a month, he's trained them at least 16 times. If we're doing 4.5 weeks, and technically 20. But realistically, or 18, sorry. But technically, we're going to go 16, right? Versus Steve, I might mix the names up. Dave's 16 leg sessions versus Steve's 4 leg sessions on the bro split. Now, let's see what happens over 6 months. Dave, forgotten who it is, fuck. Dave has trained his legs 64 times, and Steve has only done it 16. Now just ask yourself, who's going to have bigger legs? And it does not take a genius to work it out. It's obviously going to be the lad who's trained fucking 64 times. Why? Because he's trained his leg 4 times as more. Not to mention, he's literally practiced the skill so much more. So his form, his execution, his accuracy is going to be so much better. Why? Because he's had more trial and error. He's trained them 64 times as opposed to this guy's trained 16. So ask yourself, who's going to have bigger legs? And I'm just talking about legs, about chest, about arms, about all of this. Think about it. I'm telling you, full body, game changer. And literally, just think about why girls have bigger legs than you. I've seen so many girls when I first started training legs properly. I'm got respectful legs now. I'm still not at a point, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not at a point where I'm just showing my legs off as much as I'd like to on my socials. The reason why is because I do not really have impressive legs, because I only really learned how to train them in the last year or two. So I've got a lot of catching up to do. But when back in the day, I'm at a good point now, but girls have bigger legs than me, and I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, it's basic, it's obvious why. They just train them every fucking day or every other day. Girls train their legs or glutes 3 to 4 times per week. That's why their legs are massive. It's because they train them often. So understand that you need to train everything often. The more often, the better when you're first starting out. Okay? And I'm going to explain another reason behind this as well. I think it's on the next slide, but the reason, I'll give you a little background. Basically, when you train something split over the week, when you split your volume across the week, it's going to be typically more beneficial than basically banging all that volume into one day. The way I like to think about it is, if you were to do let's say 6 sets of quads, right, versus 2 sets of quads, 2 sets of quads, 2 sets of quads, which is better? And the way I think about it is 2 plus 2 plus 2 does not equal 6. It equals fucking 12, maybe 8, 10, who knows. Reason why, we should look at the mental perspective. First of all, did you train a lot of hamstrings before that, which then basically resulted in you being fatigued to training your quads, perhaps. And as a result, you couldn't come in with the right mental intensity to train those 6 sets. You also think about like, right, I'm going to train on Monday 2 sets of quads. I'm now going to work up to my weight, and I'm going to be right in the mood. I might have had a better sleep that night. I'm going to get a better session in. And then you split on Wednesday and Friday, and it's like you're going to get 3 banging 100% sessions as opposed to like 1 potential 70% session. So you got to think, when you're splitting your volume across 4 days, you've got the chance and the opportunity to attack it from different angles, perhaps when you're feeling better and when you're more mentally primed, and you're always going to get better results, if that makes sense. Now, setting up full body. So you'd want to be doing 4 sessions per week, and the way you would do it is just simple. So basically alternate heavy and light upper body, lower body days. So imagine you did it like this, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So Monday you would just do heavy upper session and light lower session. So basically heavy is 6 to 10 rep range, and then light, obviously lighter weight, 15 to 25, prioritizing blood flow into the muscle. And then you switch them. So it's like the next day on Wednesday, heavy lower, light upper. You're obviously taking a rest day in between. Your sessions are going to be a little bit longer, but that's the trade-off you pay for getting more rest days. Like at the end of the day, you're not training every day. You physically can't because of recovery. So accept it's going to be a bit longer. This looks crazy, but you're only doing 1 set, right? You'll start doing a little bit of kind of warm-up sets and feeder sets essentially to make sure that you're fresh, right? But eventually you don't need to be. So for example, if we start off with chest, like I'm obviously going to do a few warm-up sets on that incline bench. I don't want to go in fresh. I'm going to do some activation work. But like once I've done my failure sets chest, I'm going straight into that tricep set. Why? Because I just took my chest, triceps and shoulders through failure in order to actually bench on the incline. Therefore, I don't need to waste any more energy warming up for triceps. I just go straight into it. Same for here, right? Like if I've done that tricep set, I'm doing 1 set of tricep isolation and failure. If I've done lats, so I'll warm up my lat, then do a set, probably warm up my upper back, different muscle, do a set. But then when I'm coming into bicep isolation, I'm not doing a warm up set. Why? Because my bicep was engaged in all of these back exercises, and that's how you speed things up basically. And this looks menacing. There's a lot of exercises, but it's actually not that deep. So let's look at the structure. Really, you just want to target everything, hence full body. So start off with a chest compound, incline bench, for example, then tricep compound, Smith press, lat compound or lat movement, chest supported row, upper back for thickness really. So this is kind of, coming up here. I'd say barbell row. Yeah, barbell row, overhand pronated. You don't want to be going underhand because that would be targeting your lat and biasing that. Mid delt, lateral raises, tricep isolation, push downs, bicep isolation, preachers. That's your upper body heavy work, right? Now, for overall kind of nervous system and just making sure that we're not killing ourselves, we'll go lighter on these. So we'll go more reps on the hamstrings, quad compound, quad isolation, calf, abs. And then you'll literally just switch them, okay? Over time, it will be hard. You will need deloads often, but it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. And you will get FOMO. You'll want to change it. But don't just change a split because of how you feel. That's just stupid. Just like look at the results you're getting. And if you're progressing your lifts every single week, which you will be because of how useful this split is, you are going to make a lot of progress. So if you really want it, this is kind of what you do. That's why I'd set full body. Now, I've just spent 80 minutes talking about full body. So I'm going to move on and try and go through this strategically. Now, let's talk about changing splits. So when should you change splits? Should you do full body for the rest of your lifting career? I wouldn't say that. That wouldn't be very fun, would it? Now, I've spoken about the best 4 splits, and you basically don't want to jump from split to split until you've exhausted, until you've squeezed the juice from everything. So let's say you're a beginner, right? You want to build up some insane foundations from training every single muscle group as much as possible. And then once you feel like you've exhausted it, once you've built up a solid frame, and this might be 1 to 2 years perhaps, until you've exhausted that, then you can move on to the next split. And again, Jordan, he talks about this analogy, which I think is really, really useful. I've got to finesse it. So this is really good. Think about when you're changing splits, you're going from running to riding a bike to driving a car to the plane. That's the theory we're going to talk about. It's like, just because you do not like running doesn't mean you can just jump on the plane straight away. You can't do that. You need to actually go through the phases strategically. And if we look at it, full body is basically like running. Then once we've done full body, we go into upper lower, which is the bike. Then once we've exhausted upper lower, we go into push pull legs, car. And then once we've exhausted all of that, we go to the bro split, which is flying the plane, right? And the reason why is very simple, because each one becomes a little bit more targeted to the muscles individually, and the training volume actually decreases. Here you're training everything 4 times. Here you're training everything 2 times. Here I would say 1.5 times. Why? Because realistically we're not going to be doing 6 sessions, and I'll walk you through this. We're going to be doing less. So if we're doing, for example, push pull legs, push and arms, and like a density day, posterior chain, quads now don't get targeted as much. Therefore it's kind of less volume, so it's a little bit more targeting. And this is what the push pull leg split allows you to do. It allows you to be a little bit more kind of highly targeted. Obviously upper lower is still pretty intense. You're training everything twice, and then the bro split is just strategically targeting every single muscle group and every lagging area. Now you need to go through the phases strategically. Why? You need to build the foundations. You need more XP as you progress, and this is why you change your split, because as you go through it, like, you're on easy mode when you're first starting. It's why you want to do full body, because you just grow so quickly. It's fucking insane. I wish I knew this when I first started. Just take notes. And then it gets harder. You now need more XP. So you need to be a little bit techie with your splits, and you need to realize it takes a new level. But you need to make sure that you're squeezing the juice out of all the OG splits. Why? Because the goal is to get strong fast and recover well. This is how you do it. This is why we do everything. And you can realize this now, or you can realize this later. I'm telling you, no one will tell you this. Why? Because 2 reasons. One, every single bodybuilder under the sun just thinks their way is like the only way. And personally, I don't really like that thinking. I'm a very open-minded guy, so I like to discuss each individual one, so you can kind of make your own opinion. And second of all, I think just like on Instagram, that's why I've really had Instagram. That's my head in. That's why I love YouTube and making these videos. Is because I think people just say you need to do this or you need to do that, and that's the only way to do things. And it's just like a bit of a content angle. It's like people just run out of content ideas and want to grab your attention and pull you in. So they say, this is the only split you need to be doing, or if you're doing this split, it's wrong. It's like, it's not necessarily wrong. It just might not be as beneficial, and this is the reason why. So that's kind of the basis of everything. And just remember, right, the goal is to get strong fast and recover well. That's how you're going to grow the most amount of muscle, which is why we do things. So full body, why do you do full body when you first start up? Because you're going to get stronger faster. Now eventually, once you've exhausted full body, and now we're lifting crazy weights, now we're benching 140 kg, now we're squatting 100 kg, now we're deadlifting 200 kg or whatever, that's going to be very taxing on the body. So now we've got to move to upper lower, and now we've got to split the volume accordingly, right? Then you exhaust upper lower, and then we're riding the bike, and we do the exact same thing. You've now got less volume. You're not training everything 4 times, you're training everything twice. So now you can split the volume accordingly. Now again, when things get too heavy, this will be a little bit difficult. And also you will start to notice, because this will be around 5 to 6 years in perhaps, there will be certain muscle groups where you're lagging. You're not really, building enough strength in these muscle groups. So they need their own separate day, which is then when we would think, okay, let's maybe come on to push-pull legs. And then on the back end of the week, we can start to be a little bit more finicky and target certain muscle groups that are kind of lagging. And then you exhaust that, and then you finish that, and you might yo-yo between the two. And then you would only really think about going towards that bro split, flying the plane, when you're getting really technical, and now you're trying to sculpt the physique, and you're saying, right, well, my abs are shit. I need a whole day for my abs, or my forearms could be better. Now you're being really techie. You're trying to just build the best physique possible and sculpt certain areas. That's when you would do a bro split. It's like fine tuning. I hope that makes sense as to why you wouldn't want to jump the ladder, and why you should do things in the most strategic way possible and think rationally. Okay. Now, I promise this video won't be too long. It's just important. So the next is upper lower, right? 10-10 split. Honestly, favorite split. I absolutely love it. If you come in as a client, I will typically program this for you. Why? Because I like my clients to stay long term. So I won't give them full body because it's shit. But it's necessary, and it really depends on the individual you are. Like, none of my clients at the moment, they're all kind of lifestyle clients. No one really wants to become Mr. Olympia, so we're not really putting them on full body. I've got a few who have done it in the past, but let's just say they did not enjoy it as much. So we switched to upper lower, and it's a really, really good split. Way I would structure it is 2 days on, 1 day off, dependent on recovery capabilities. Listen to your body. Like, it's not the end of the world if you need to take a couple rest days. At the end of the day, split that works for you is the one that allows you to progress your lifts. Don't just force a session when you're not recovered, but also don't be a pussy. So fine line. It comes with experience. Now, the harder muscles to recover are typically chest and hamstrings. Everything else can be full send. It's a fun fact. Remember that. Chest and hamstrings. Think about it. When you actually train, you know when you do this in the morning, you go a little stretch. That's always the one that hurts the most. I mean, think about your hamstrings after leg day when you're walking. That's always the thing that hurts the most. Everything else, though, your back, side delts, calves, biceps, quads, adductors. Actually, they're pretty hard. I wouldn't say adductors, no. They're brutal. Everything else can be full send. So think about that strategically. Why? Because if you want to craft your own split and get a little bit technical with it, remember that. You shouldn't be doing chest just straight back to back. We should be having about 2 or 3 sleeps in between. So an example split would be upper, lower, rest, upper, and you could go upper, lower here, but I typically go upper, rest, lower, rest. Why? More rest is ideal, in my opinion, especially when you're in this stage and you're lifting more weights. Now, you've also got to think about what split should you do and what phase you're in. If you're in a bulking phase and you're trying to gain weight and trying to gain size, then it's important to do a split that allows you to grow the most amount of muscle, which is this. But if you're in a deficit and you're just trying to lose body fat, you've got to realise muscle growth isn't going to be favourable. So this is where we can actually play around with some splits. And why? It's more in your interest to do 5 days per week. Why? Because you're going to burn more calories. So upper lower might not be the best split for you if you're in a deficit. I'll explain that on the next slide. But that's what I would do in terms of an example split for upper lower. And the way I structure it is really, really easy. So if we're biasing the back to begin with, we're doing, let's say, upper A. We do a vertical pull, so 1 pull down, and then we do a horizontal pull, like that. Thickness, lats. Then we do a rear delt isolation, then 1 chest press, 1 shoulder press, 1 tricep press, 1 mid delt raise, 1 curl. That can go on your leg days depending on volume. If your leg days are a little bit short, you can throw a curl at the end. Doesn't really matter. It really doesn't affect thing. And then 1 tricep isolation. That's pretty much everything you want to be doing. The only thing, a little caveat, is basically you switch between the two first. So on upper A, you would do the back first, and on upper B, you would do chest first. Reason why is because you now get 2 opportunities to train everything fresh. Again, this literally applies to the 2 + 2 + 2 = 6 theory. So if you're training chest when you are fresh, it's going to be very, very different to when you're training chest after back, if that makes sense. Therefore, if you were to basically just do all of your training on that upper day, right, and equate all of your volume into that one day, that would not be the same as if you were to split that volume across 2 days and then train the chest at the start of a session, which is why the days that you do train and the way you actually program your lifts are very important. Now on the lower day, hamstring isolation, adductor, leg compound, squat, leg compound, leg press, hamstring isolation, lying curl, calf work, abs and biceps. Really, really easy for legs. You don't have to overdo it. I am overdoing it at the moment because I'm on a deficit, but it's what it is. Builds character. And that's kind of what I do in terms of upper lower. Now, the last split I talk about is push-pull legs. The big mistake, right, and I did this, everyone does this, is training 6 days per week. But this is next to impossible to recover from, at least if you actually understand how to train. Because I say this all the time, as you progress, it's like COD. You need more XP. You need to be better at lifting, so you need to be smarter. And this means in order to grow more muscle, you need to actually train properly. You need to understand how to actually go to failure, how to actually train with accuracy, how to actually lift with correct tempo. And you need to make sure that you know how to train to grow muscle. If you know how to do that, and if you're at this point, we will both know there's no way you're recovering in 6 days. So if you're training 6 days per week, you probably don't know how to train. Because if you genuinely were training to like 100% intensity, like if you looked at some of the best bodybuilders and just watched how they trained, and it's like if you can do that 6 days per week, you're fucked. And like even if you are, you're probably just shooting yourself in the foot because like you're not recovering. It's your nervous system you got to think about. So the smartest approach when it comes to push-pull legs would be as such, in my opinion. So I would do push, pull, legs, rest, then maybe push and arms, and then you can do like posterior chain and density work, which is like your whole back line, and then rest. Now at this point, you're basically being a little bit more technical with your physique. So you're doing this split for 2 options. One, you're even a deficit, which basically means you can train 5 days per week, perhaps even 6 if that's something you can do. Depends on where you're at in your journey. Perhaps you're training 5 to 6, and what this allows you to do is burn more calories, because you couldn't really do upper lower 5 days. That would be very, very taxing. So this is a good reason why, but it's also a really good split to help you sculpt your physique, because you would do push pull legs at the start, and then towards the back end of the week you could be a little bit more, how do I say, tactical with the muscles you target. So you could be doing you could do another upper and you could do another lower day if you just wanted to hit everything 5 times per week. You could do a push and arms day here and a posterior chain day. You could allocate, perhaps you could get really technical with this. You could be doing like some quad work, some like quad and calves. You could do whatever really with this thing, as long as it makes sure that it allows you to recover. It's a really, really good split. And this is where you've got to be kind of careful with rest. So again, it's a case of, if you're lifting quite a lot here, you need to be thinking about recovery and be thinking, right, do I need to kind of put in a rest day here or so? And then it might just be a case of you just need to do push, pull, legs, and then upper, maybe 4 days per week if your legs are in a really, really good spot. Or it might be a case of you just need to do push, pull. So you would do it like this: legs, push, pull, upper, if you just really, really want to build up your upper body. And that could be enough. I don't believe arms need their own day. I don't think that's true. So I wouldn't do that. But that's kind of what I would do if I wanted to get stronger. Now, don't mess up the split trying to get more out and inhibit recovery. That's what you do when you train 6 days per week. Like you're thinking as most people do, which is like, if I do more, I get more out. And it's like, at this stage of the journey, no, because recovery is probably one of the most important factors. Managing fatigue is probably going to be one of the highest ROI things you can do to build your physique and grow more muscle. So like, by doing more work, you negate the entire core premise of even doing more work. You were doing more work to gain muscle, but now by doing more work, you're gaining less muscle. So it's just like, come on, bro. Just be a little bit smarter. And the thing is, like, it's just, you need to think outside the box a little bit here and just listen to the right people. Like, the only reason I'm making this video is because I've fucked around and find out, and I listen to the right people. I'm not just coming up with all this shit. Like, I just understand it. I'm not going to give you all the scientific study. That's your job. You can go away, take what I'm saying, and just fact check it for if you'd like. But I'm just here to tell you this shit works. So stop thinking in excess. If you do more, you get more. It doesn't work like that. The more sets you do, if you just keep fucking training chest or if you do push pull legs 6 days a week, you're not just going to get magically stronger. Same way, if you take more steroids, you're not going to get bigger. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just do things in fucking way too much of an extremity in excess. Like, it's you got to think about it from a strategical standpoint, and it just comes down to what I said at the start of the video. The entire reason we create a training split is to make sure that you can progress your lifts and recover in the fastest manner possible. If you do that, you're sweet. And then the final split, right, is obviously the bro split. And I just want you to, I'm not telling you how to do this one. I just want you to realize you're not C-Bum. You ain't Arnold. You don't need a dedicated arm day, no matter how fun it is. Unless you've been lifting for like 10, 15 years or so, then you have way more juice to squeeze out of the previous sets. Those are going to be more in your interest because you are going to benefit from training everything twice, at least. So these splits are more logical if you're going to be wanting to grow more muscle. If you want to do a bro split, this is feel like the fine tuning. Like if you're perhaps, like for example, like these lifters will create very, very strategic sets where they might, like, I don't know, throw in some forearm work or throw in some like specific oblique work or some like adductor work because they're smaller. And that's something you can do at the end of the day. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably better off, rather than just like trying to be like very fine and accurate, just going like macro and just trying to hit everything and training something more. And until you've squeezed the juice out of that and you know you're like confident that you've done everything and like you know what you're doing with nutrition, like you're a very advanced lifter, then it's probably not smart to do this. The only reason you'd be doing this is just because like you just want the fun and you just want to be training chest this whole day and having an arm day. And it's like, start the video, come on. Like, are you doing this for fun or do you want to get as big as possible? You clicked on this video because you want to grow as much muscle as possible. So this is what you need to do. Change your mindset. I don't need to tell you scientifically why this works. It just does fucking work. If you want to fact check it, please research it. Do what you need to do, not what you want to do. And just ask yourself, what's more fun? Arm days or getting massive? Think fucking bigger. It's just like, I love a little arm day. Like if I'm on holiday, little arm day. But it's like, what's more fun? Just growing massive arms or just doing arm days? It's like, do what you need as opposed to what you want to do for fun. Delayed gratification. Think bigger. And it's why one of the most highest ROI activities you can do is actually understand what you want. If you don't know yourself like the back of your hand, if you don't know why you're even in the gym, it's silly. You know why you're in there. You know, I'm in to reach my fullest potential. I want to build the most fucked physique I possibly can. I want to do the same for my clients, and those are the people I attract. That's what I'm after, personally. I know myself like the back of the hand. It's exactly what I want. Now, that might not be you. That you could be in a complete situation, and there's a good old saying, right? It's like, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know exactly kind of what you're targeting, you can be taking steps up a ladder, but it's on the wrong fucking wall. And every step you take just gets you further and further away from your goals. Why? Because you didn't even realize where the ladder was going. Think about that. Rewind now. Think about it again. Good advice. Doesn't just apply to the gym. It applies to everything. So know yourself. Know yourself at the back of a hand. Know what you want. And use this information to your advantage. Now, guys, that's pretty much a 35-minute video. Apologies, it was long. It was necessary. On everything you need to know about what is the best training split to grow muscle. That's kind of the information. That's the rationale behind it. And just understand, lads, like, this is only one key piece of the puzzle. It's not complicated, everything. Like, it may come across as complicated, but it's just because if you don't know all the facts, it seems difficult. Like, for me, I genuinely understand this all at the back of my hand. So I understand that training splits are just one piece of the puzzle. If you are someone who genuinely wants to build an elite physique, and like, you are on the other side of the spectrum, you want to get insane fucking shape. You want people to go fucking hell, you know what? How on earth has he done that? I need to learn from him. And guys, link in the bio. Feel free to book in a call. Watch that video. I will show you exactly how I did things and how I got to where I am and how I am going to get even further, so you can copy it. And if you want to learn exactly and have one-to-one support from me, feel free to book in a call and I'll show you everything you need to know. Other than that, boys, it's a sunny day. I'm going to go for a walk, get some steps, get nice and lean. We're 69.5 kg on the 28th of February. I'm doing a photo shoot in 7 weeks. So I'm going to get fucking shredded. It's going to be good. So yeah, quick update. New camera coming soon. So vlogs will be back. Less education, more education. We shall see. Anyway, I need to stop chatting shit. This video is way too long. Guys, been an absolute pleasure. Catch you on the next one.